My name is Nadia Kirchner, and this is my presentation on Joe Biden and his stutter. I chose Joe Biden for this project because he has been open about his lifelong experience with stuttering. I think his story is really powerful because he not only overcame this challenge but also used it to inspire others who have speech disorders. Who is Joe Biden? Joe Biden was born in 1942 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He became a U.S. Senator at only 29 years old, then served 8 years as Vice President with President Barack Obama, and served as the 46th President of the United States. He is known for his long career in public service and for being one of the few politicians to speak openly about a communication disorder. I chose him because he shows that a stutter doesn't stop you from being an effective leader. About stuttering. Stuttering is a type of fluency disorder that interrupts the smooth rhythm of speech. It can involve repeating sounds, prolonging them, or getting stuck before a word comes out. It usually begins in early childhood and affects about 1% of the population. People who stutter may also experience tension in their face or body when trying to speak, and many feel anxiety or frustration during conversations. Biden's stutter is not congenital because he developed his stutter. The stuttering began when he was around 4 years old. His experience. Biden has shared that he was teased by classmates and even some teachers for how he spoke. They gave him nicknames like Dash and Joe Impedimenta. Because of this, he became quiet and avoided speaking in class. To work on his speech, he would memorize poetry and practice reading it aloud in front of a mirror for hours each night. This helped him gain more control and confidence. Impact on his life. Biden says stuttering had a big impact on his confidence when he was younger. It made him feel shy and nervous about speaking, but it also pushed him to work harder. He said that because of his stutter, he learned empathy and resilience. It taught him what it feels like to struggle, which helps him connect with people as a leader today. Treatment and support. Biden didn't receive much formal speech therapy, but he came up with his own strategies. He practiced speaking slowly and rehearsing speeches over and over. Today, he encourages children who stutter by writing them letters and telling them about his own experiences. He shows them that stuttering doesn't have to hold them back from their dreams. If he had gone to speech therapy, a speech pathologist would have helped him focus on slowing down his speech, using calm breathing, and practicing gentle starts when talking. These techniques help people feel more relaxed and confident when they speak. Discrimination and overcoming stigma. Biden has talked about how frustrating it was to be underestimated and doubted because of his stutter. People used to tell Biden he'd never have a career that required public speaking, but he proved them wrong. He talked about how painful it was to be laughed at, yet he used that doubt as motivation. He often says that stuttering doesn't reflect intelligence, it's just how some people speak. By being open about his experience, he helps reduce the stigma for others who stutter. Here's a clip of Joe Biden talking about his stuttering.
I'd stand in front of the mirror, and I was saying this to Bruce. I used to stutter like some of you, very badly. And the thing that I hated the most was I'd contort my face when I stuttered. And I was so ashamed and so embarrassed. And I used to stand in front of the mirror, and it was Yeats and Emerson and meek young men and grow up in libraries. And I'd go through the whole Emerson quote and try to watch my face so that I wouldn't contort it, so I could get a rhythm to try to gain control of how I spoke. Bruce, you memorized plays from the beginning. I wasn't that smart. But Bruce, a lot of people didn't know that I used to stutter and didn't know you used to stutter. I have an admission to make. This organization really very early on, I went to a Catholic boys' school. It was a good school in Claymont, Delaware, and it was taught by the Norbertine priest, and we had a priest named, who was a hell of an athlete. He was 28, I guess, and we were 18. And he was from Green Bay, Wisconsin, was drafted by the Packers and decided to become a priest. And we all admired him. And about 5 years after I left, he left the priesthood and became very involved in the National Stuttering Association. And I was a young senator elected at age 29. And in full disclosure, He asked me if I'd come and speak at one of the association dinners, and I made up an excuse that I couldn't do it. The truth of the matter was I was afraid to do it. Not that I'd be unable to speak, but I was afraid that if people knew I stuttered, they would thought something was wrong with me. Because for the longest time in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, there was a lot of debate about whether or not those of us who stuttered suffered from some other problem that caused us to stutter. And like Bruce said, I too thought I was handicapped. I remember to this day how stuttering felt, how dehumanizing, how embarrassing, how much it put into question, in my own mind as well, my capabilities.